Alright guys, so I just unboxed the MV Motorrad Technik straight from Germany. It took a couple of days for it to ship, but just wanted to give you guys kind of a brief overview of what it looks like and the install process on a 2006 through 2013 FJR1300A. It's the model with the clutch on the motorcycle. Everything was packaged up really nice. The box was wet, which wasn't a big deal as long as everything came the way it should have. So it looks like there's a couple of brackets here that are going to adjust the brake side and the clutch side. You've got some bolts there, and it looks like maybe an extra cover on here as well. So we'll have to get into that, see what that's for. Good condition, good shape. It's a heavy built riser on here with a lot of adjustability. As you can see, the angles adjust quite a bit, so I'm pretty excited to see what this looks like on the bike. So let's get to the next process here. Okay, so as you can see, there's actually some covers that go over the top here that are sitting down here that require a small Allen head. You want to make sure and be careful with those and not to strip them. I do have a different set of risers, or had a different set of risers on here that required the loom to be cut, so you won't see, if you can see back there, you won't see any kind of loom holding the wires back because I had to cut it back. Wanted to make sure that there aren't any sharp edges, so I went ahead and filed those down and loosened up these bolts right here. I believe that's a 14 or a 17 mil, and then an Allen wrench there. Now I will go over a couple of things you want to have or that make the bike a lot easier. Of course, an extension and these hex bit socket sets for different sizes here. Everything of course is metric, so that definitely helps make the process go a lot smoother. Well, let's see if we can break into these instructions. They also come with those zip ties as well, so that helps. And I was told something in here will be in English. We'll see. I'm not worried about trying to secure the brake line. I've already had them down. I would recommend covering the tank up, which I've got this towel right here that I use. That way you don't scratch things up, because it's real easy to drop things. Okay, so it looks like, let me see if I can get a flashlight, if this is going to make it better. There's a connection piece right there that's on the clutch side that you have to remove. If y'all can see that. Right down in there, which I've already removed that. That's that bolt right there. So we're going to basically extend that out a little bit to make it easier for the risers. That's what this extension side is for. Hopefully that will be the same size. It is. Okay guys, so here we are back. I did want to make a couple mentions on this, and hopefully you can see that on the assembly instructions. The bolt that they supply is actually in the bottom side. You're going to have to unscrew that from the threaded side, flip it upside down, and make sure that the OEM bolt is on the threaded side. That way you could put their bolt into the threading that goes into the steering mechanism or into the frame there. And then the other bolt is going to go through and it'll be threaded. If you try and do it upside down, you'll have one bolt that doesn't have a threading and it won't go on right. So it took me a little while to figure that out. The second one, and I've seen a lot of people have some problems with this, and it honestly only took me a couple of minutes, But what I did was I started with that top bolt and I screwed it in as tightly as I could get it to where I could get some leverage. And let me show you. It says to use a screwdriver, which I got the biggest flathead screwdriver I had, put it back here and use the frame kind of as a pry bar and push it till it catches that notch. Once it catches that notch, it's going to be kind of off kilter a little bit, so you come back over, loosen that screw just maybe a quarter turn back, and you can get it to loosen up to where you could put that other screw right back in there and it will thread right up. So just wanted to show you those two things, and I'll be back when we're on our next step. Alright guys, so I have the clutch side and the brake side. The next step is to take the bars off. So after you get those little adapter plates, you're going to use a 17-inch socket for the bigger one and a 6mm for the inner one for the smaller bolt there. As you can see, I've already loosened those up quite a bit. Be very careful with this stuff. You don't want that dropping on your tank, so protect your tank. And after I take those off, I'll be right back. Okay, so you guys can see I've got the plate installed. You're just going to use the OEM bolts that are sticking up through the holes. Screw those in. You don't have to do them very tight right now, but just to get an idea. Here's the original bolt that goes in the top, and here's the one that's supplied, so you could tell much longer. So you're going to put those right there and make sure they line up with the holes. Make sure I'm using the right ones here. So far so good. I'm going to try and relieve some of this pressure. I don't like too much pressure on that brake line like that. I would hate for anything bad to happen while I'm in this process. So I'll be right back after I tighten those down and see where I can fit the guards. You can definitely tell there's two pins there. You're going to put the two pins in these slots here and then start to tighten all of this down, and I'll show you that when we get to that portion as well. So from here on out, it's pretty easy installation. I gotta say the brake side wasn't, or the clutch side wasn't too bad. The brake side, you know, required a little bit of work, but really it's just about buttoning it up from here, making sure that everything's good. I did want to mention the bolt that's underneath there. You want to make sure that that's torqued properly. Of course, you'd have to remove this to get back to it on that steering nut. So just an FYI, it does kind of move into the way there, but here in just a couple minutes I'll be back with you and we'll see what it looks like. Alright guys, one thing I did want to mention with these inner bolts, because they do have a nut at the bottom of them, make sure that you tape those up, because where are they going to fall? Probably down here. A couple of guys in the forums have talked about them falling underneath inside the gas tank, and I really don't care to have to try and wiggle that thing out, mess with the gas tank at this particular moment in time. So real easy, I just taped them there on the bottom. It worked just fine. Bolts are in. Going to do the larger ones now, which are pretty easy. Making sure I got the adjustment that I want on there and go in just like that. So overall, really easy install, guys. The caps just go over the top right here. They've got some more caps over here. So you got 3 caps over here. One mounted up here in the middle. Looks like it's a ram mount right there if you want that. Not really a big deal to me. Put the caps in. Make sure that everything is zip tied the way it should be. Button it all up. Make sure all your connections are tight, and you're good to go. And alright guys, so here's what it looks like. Everything's installed. I'm just going to use the zip ties, tie up the cable, tie up the clutch side, make sure that nothing's binding, and then I'm going to do a test with it real quick, make sure that's all good. Basically, the only thing left to do is to put these small plates on here. Be real careful with these because they're easy to lose, but what it's going to do is line up with the middle of that bolt, and I'm sure probably part of the reason why they supplied a bigger one is because you're going to need that in order to reinstall it there on the plate. So it's pretty simple and easy. You don't have to pull a triple tree like with some of the other risers. The Tour Tech that I have here that's got the new wire loom on it where you got to pull everything off, that was kind of a headache until you really get used to what you're doing and know how all that goes. So I'm going to go take a test drive, see how it works, and I'll let you guys know. Alright guys, so here's with the risers installed. You can see they're almost back to the emblem before they were way in front of it. I installed the zip tie right there in the corner. Nothing's binding up, everything was fine, wires are fine. Like I said in the earlier portion of the video, there is a wire limb that's connected. It's kind of hard to see back there if that'll focus. You do have to open that up a little bit to get a little bit more slack. There is some tension on the brake line when it's at full tilt, but it's nowhere near what mine was on my V-Star when I put risers on it. So I'm comfortable with that. I'm 5'8", almost 5'9". I've got a 30-inch inseam, and these risers put me on the sergeant seat, actually back in the seat itself. I was having some serious issues with the piping here that was rubbing on the back of my leg. It would make my leg go numb after about 15-20 minutes. That's my review on the MVs. Great piece of quality equipment, very fast shipping all the way from Germany. Have a good day, guys.